Good evening, YouTube. Hey, it's Taylor Martin again here with you. Gonna be fishing in the morning. Hey, Zay, you wanna be in the video too? Say hey. Say hey, everybody. Hey. Hey, everybody, watch this. Hey, shake. Shake. Good boy. Other paw. Shake. Shake. Good boy. Hey. Come on. Sorry about that. Go on. Get out of here. Alright, so, anyway, gonna be going out in the morning, and lately, it is, it's April here in Florida, in Jacksonville, and lately, weather's been mid-80s in the hottest part of the day, fluctuating about anywhere from, I'd say, 85 to 88, and in the evenings getting around the 60s. So, water temperature is really starting to warm up. Perfect time to throw topwaters. And lately the reds and trout both have been blowing up like crazy in the early mornings and on into the evenings, right as the sun starts to come up or right as it starts to fall. So that being said, I'm going to get up in the morning and go hit the marsh, but before I do that, I'm going to rig up a couple topwaters, and before I do that, I was just going to share with you guys my selections on topwater baits to use, profiles, and then as far as just how to rig them up goes, what I like to do as far as when I'm going to throw a topwater, how long I'm going to throw the topwater for, and if for some reason the fish don't seem to like the topwater, what I'll throw instead. So let's get into it. Alright, so here I've got a 7-foot Waterloo Salinity. Waterloo is a company that I am on their pro staff, and I got hold of these rods when I was in Texas. Honestly, didn't know too much about them, and quickly learned that they are worth the money. Super strong rods, extremely durable. I use these rods for, I've caught tarpon on them, I've caught snook, reds, trout. And most of what I do here in the marshes in Jacksonville is a lot of big reds in the marsh and trout. So they've got a, if you can see, they've got a real quick tip. Real quick tip, a lot of backbone, a ton of backbone to these rods. It's no problem at all just to pull a big redfish out from under the trees, under a dock. Anyway, so more about that later. But for right now, in the morning, I'm going to throw these rods like I use here. So I've got 10-pound spider wire, and what I will do is I like using Seaguar fluorocarbon. There's a lot of really good leaders out there to use, but yeah, in my opinion, Seaguar is the best, and I believe in the fishing world, you get what you pay for, and for me, 25-pound works just fine. I will throw 20 occasionally. I don't like throwing 20 too much in the marsh just due to all the oysters that are around, so I'll bump it up to 25. Usually don't go heavier than 30. If I'm fishing around docks, residential docks, I may go to 40 depending on the water clarity. But tomorrow morning is just going to be topwaters in the marsh up against the bank. So for that, I'm just going to throw 25. So I got a brand new spool of 25-pound leader. Gonna open her up here. And tie on some 25-pound Seaguar. So, for throwing topwater plugs, I don't like to use an extremely long leader, and the reason why is because Seaguar fluorocarbon, or fluorocarbon itself, is heavy, so a lot of leader will pull that plug actually nose down, and I mean, for me, I feel like it just doesn't make the lure walk like it should. Other people will say, and this isn't something that I've always done. I usually use a pretty long leader, and I used to use a long leader when I threw topwaters, and I just kind of learned and have heard over the years that shorter leaders are usually preferred for topwater. So I started using shorter leaders, and honestly, I don't know if it makes that much of a difference, but it seems to work out just fine. So anyway, I use about I'd say a 25-inch section leader, and I like to tie just a uni to uni knot. But the way I do it is I double my braided line. If you can see that, I double my braid when I make my uni knot. I feel like it's going to be stronger. It's going to hold up better. So let's go ahead and tie these together. For anybody that doesn't know how to tie this knot, if you go on my channel, there's a couple different videos on how to tie this knot. Very, very simple, but very, very strong, very effective. Just about the only knot that I use anymore. Wet the center a little bit. And the only thing about tying it double like this is that you have to make sure that you pull both ends correctly. Just like that. So there we've got a nice little uni to uni, if you can see that. This is all done on an iPhone, so bear with me. I guess it's the best I can get it, sorry. But I promise you it is clean. It is a clean knot. So, got our double knot there, uni to uni. Sectional leader. Now, we're going to get into different kinds of topwaters before I tie one on. So, if you look at the box here, I've got just tons and tons of topwater plugs that I like to throw. There's a whole variety. Each one's a little bit different. So, we'll just take it from the top. So, I recently just started throwing these this past year, and they do pretty well. It's a little Yozuri Hydro Pencil, and I've heard good and bad things about them. They're not bad. They're pretty lifelike, I think. And they look pretty good. The rattle in them is pretty loud, which I like. The hookup ratio on them isn't bad at all. What I really don't like though, the thing that, and again, this is my opinion, where the hook placement is. There's a little lip that runs right here. I'm not sure why, but if you look in the camera, there's a little hollowed out section right here, and I'm not sure if it's to help push water, like make a little small wave, almost like a popper. But for me, it kind of throws off the action a little bit. I like a normal topwater just to walk side to side along the surface. And this one, a walk, but it also kind of throws up some water. And anyway, for me, it just does a little too much. So when I throw topwaters, a couple of things I look for are size. I try and match the size of the bait that's in the area that the best I can. So for instance, the area that I'm fishing in the morning, there's a lot of finger mullet, a lot of fry, a lot of glass minnows. That's what a lot of these redfish and trout are blowing up on eating. There's pogies, little silver trout, little pinfish, but finger mullet are everywhere. So for me, a bait like a mirror lure, a little mirror lure top dog like this right here, and this is the green fossilized color that they came out with a couple of years ago. I like this lure a lot. So with the right profile size, I like the color of it. It's pretty realistic, and I like the rattle. It's got like one hard ball bearing in there, and it makes a nice hard rattle. So there's that topwater there. Now we can go into, if I can get them untangled, we can go into a little bit smaller profile topwater, which is called a mirror mullet. And like I said, they're a little bit smaller. So that's a mirror mullet right here. I'll show you the size comparison between a top dog and a mirror mullet. The mirror mullet's a little smaller. Body style is a little bit different. The walking style too is a little bit different. It's quieter. If you can hear the difference. A little bit different rattle, smaller ball bearing. For me, if I was just going after trout early in the morning, I would like throwing, I would like throwing something like a mirror mullet. And the reason why, if I'm going after just numbers, you can catch all kinds of size fish on this lure. You can catch big trout, small trout, redfish. I've caught snook on these, caught baby tarpon on these. But like I said, for me though, you can see the scars and scuffs on it. This lure's been eaten a bunch. But again, on this lip, on the bottom of the mirror lure, there's a little small lip on the bottom of the mirror mullet where it's flattened. And again, just for me, I don't really like that too much when I throw a topwater. I mean, you know, somebody could be watching this video and be like, dude, you're getting way too into it. Well, when I fish, I feel like any good fisherman is always trying to get a leg up and always trying to gain an advantage and learn more. So for me, if I had designed it, I would put the eye of the hook right before I put the split ring. I'd put the eye a little bit higher, and then I would get rid of that flat portion. But again, that's just me. So that brings us to probably one of my favorite topwater lures of all time, and that is the spook. Hedon has made these lures for I don't know how long. I know they started as bass lures back in the day, and then people started throwing them in salt water. In my own mind, do they work great. I've caught snook on these, huge snook, big redfish, big trout, tarpon, jacks, barracuda, sharks, everything eats spook. And the rattle, again, nice and loud, kind of like the top dog. Good loud rattle. They completely solved the problem, like I said. I had an issue with that I was telling you about, which is the hook, the eye placement. Okay, it's right where it needs to be. There's no flat edge down there. It's all completely rounded. So the bait profile is the right size. It's not overwhelmingly big. They make a couple bigger models, like they make one called a one knocker, which is this spook right here. I've caught big trout on this as well as some big snook and redfish, but for me, this is just a little bit too big for where I'm going to be. So for that, I'm going to throw the Zara spook. I'm going to throw a little bit smaller profile. They make a smaller Zara spook as well. This is the Spook Junior that I've got in my left hand. The one that's in my right hand, I believe, that's what I thought, it's called the Puppy. And this is what it looks like. And you can see the size difference here. very small. Little itty bitty rattle. If you can hear it. Just the smallest of a rattle. And again, for me, like the time I throw this, I'll throw this at night under a dock, and like a dock light, try and catch some trout on it. I have thrown and caught some baby tarpon on it here and there, some small snook, but for me, it's too small for what I'm going to be doing. It casts a long way, but it's just too small. When I throw a topwater, I like a topwater that can be heard from a long way away. I feel like fish hone in on that. Trout, redfish will hone in on that. That sound, it sounds like a fish feeding and bait moving around. So for me, like I said, I like a topwater that makes a good bit of noise. I don't like something quiet. So that being said, in the morning I'm going to throw a spook. Now, I'm not going to do the video on here because it would take too long. I need to change these hooks out, so that's what I'm going to be doing before I tie this spook on. So anyway, that's the end of the show, the end of the video. I'm going to have a link up in the description on Waterloo rods if y'all want to look at those, as well as spider wire if you want to check out that braid. Great braid. I switched over from Power Pro. I've been throwing Power Pro for over 10 years, and I used to swear by it, and then I switched over to spider wire just kind of on a whim and fell in love with it, and now all my reels are split with spider wire. So if you want to see Waterloo rods, click the link in the description below. If you want to take a look at spider wire, if you don't know what it is already or haven't used it recently, take a look at that below. See you guys.